Hello again, YouTube world. So in this video I want to show you how to change a seatbelt, a front seatbelt in a Mark III or 3.5 Ford Focus. I want to show you the do's and the don'ts, the things to avoid, and if you do enjoy the video towards the end of it, please do either pause it or wait till the end, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and smash that bell icon so that you're notified next time we upload a video. So if you want to know the do's and don'ts and things to avoid, stick around. Let's get to it. Right guys, so we're going to be changing the seatbelt. This is our replacement one. Tools required for doing the job: we need a 10mm and a ratchet so that we can remove the battery terminal. We need a flat bladed screwdriver or a pick or something similar. I'll explain to you in the video why we need those. We need a T20 Torx and we need a T50 on a fairly decent size ratchet because we're going to be using quite a bit of force to undo the T50 bolts. We've got 3 of those. So we know what tools we need, we've got our tools, let's get the job done. The first thing we need to do is to secure the bonnet, and then we can go ahead and undo the 10mm nut securing the battery terminal to the battery clamp. Then we can raise the battery clamp from the battery terminal, and then we're just going to use a yellow rag today just to separate those two so they can't short together. Now we've got the car electrically secured, we've opened the passenger door. Then to just bring the seat forward all the way and use this to rotate the seat back out of the way. And the reason for this is we need access inside the car so we can get to this here, which is a T50. We need to remove this panel, and then there's further 2 T50s. There's one here, one behind here, and there's one also behind here, and a T25 which is hiding behind this area here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is just pull these seals here and on the front door and just remove those, and then I can get my hand behind this panel and just pop this panel off. Once this panel is removed, I can then lever this panel forward, and then from behind I can put my finger where this is, the airbag sign, and just pop that forwards to remove it. Okay, so at this point we need to remove that little bolt in there, and that is a T20. Okay, so here's my T20 upside down, but anyway, put it in there, in the hole, give it a turn, undo that, and then this panel will just pull off. There we go. Really important thing to remember is that this part of the seatbelt needs to be threaded through here, and it anchors down at the bottom. So before we actually anchor it down there, when we put the new belt in, we need to feed it in from the back here, through the hole there, feed it all the way down, and then we can anchor it back down at the bottom. This is your top anchor point. It's important to note that this should be flexible and movable like this. It shouldn't be bolted down tight and rigid. If when you bolt this down, this T50, you find that this won't move left and right like this, then you've got a problem with the sleeve inside, and that's what's causing the issue. So you'll need to remove it and investigate that and figure out what's going on. First thing we're going to do is undo this top anchor point here, and we're just going to put the T50 in there and give it a nice firm twist, and then we'll undo that and remove it from the car. There we go. I was able to do that with one hand, so probably been out before, it wasn't too tight. Once you've started it, you should be able to undo it all the way by hand. Okay, so we're just going to undo this all the way, and then we can remove it, pull it gently backwards, and you'll notice that there's a washer on the back here which is not just going to fall off, and that's what holds in the bolt. And you'll also notice this blue stuff, that's a Loctite, a thread lock, so you need to put some of that back on when you replace it with the new belt. And we just do the reverse by tightening it up and giving it a quick nip with the ratchet at the end. So that's one out. Let's go and get the bottom anchorage point out now. Okay, so this is the lower anchorage point. Give it a quick pull. There we go. And again, once you've started it, you should find that this one will unscrew by hand. Note the orientation of this here, so you put the next one back in the correct way around. And again, when this is pulled out and removed, you've got similar things with a bushing here, so that this should be able to move freely around the bolt head here. And again, you'll normally find some form of Loctite thread lock on here for when this has been put in. I just want to point out something. With these belts, you've got a little groove here that this part has to sit into. So it's a little nick here and here, so this has to sit in, and you will notice it's sitting at a slight angle. Now the reason for that is if you don't do that, see how the belt goes in and out like this? It won't actually recoil properly. So if this has been damaged in any way, this area, and this belt isn't fitted properly, that would explain sometimes why your belt won't actually recoil on its own. It's not always the spring mechanism inside. And you'll see also why we're changing this seat belt, because it's been rubbing here somehow, I think maybe on this part here. So this is why we're actually changing the seat belt, because this is an MOT failure, because there is a potential for now weakness across the webbing of the seat belt. Have this left here. All of these are T50s, but before we remove this one, we need to unplug this here, which is the pre-tensioner, which is what explodes and pulls the belts nice and tight in the event of an accident. If you try and do this before half an hour has passed, before you've actually disconnected the battery, you do run the risk of the airbags all going off. Note the picture. Right, so we need to there's an orange tab just down here. And what we need to do is try and get something behind that just to pull it out. Now there's a few different things we can use. We can use flat bladed screwdrivers, or we can use this, which is a pick, just to get behind that, just to prise that out. Okay, so I'm going to take this screwdriver, put it in here. I'm just going to twist it. You see as I twisted that there like that, you see how that's just popped this orange tab out. And now we can just remove the electrical connector. Very simple. All that remains now we've disconnected this electrical connector is to undo this final T50. This one's likely to be a little bit tighter. There we go, it's gone. Once that's loose, again, we should be able to undo it by hand. I'm just taking the pressure off here with my hand to make undoing the bolt a little bit easier. This will have thread lock on it as well. You can see the blue there on the thread. What thread lock does is, when these are tight, it means that it won't just rattle and vibrate loose. The thread lock actually locks it in nice and tight, so you'd have to physically, as you saw with the ratchet there, put extra pressure on to actually get it to release. With that out, we just lift up the seat belt, he says, and it should remove. Now this connector here is just going through a little clip. I'll just pull that up, just to release it from there. Just keeps it secure on the old seat belt. Now that's the old seat belt out. So all we have to do now is feed this back through here, like that. That's now separate, and that's our old seat belt. The refitting is just the reverse of what we've done with taking it out. Just remember, of course, with the electrical connector here, when you plug it in, make sure you push that tab back in to hold it in. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is make sure this is going to reach, and then get this cable and push it into there. So that's now into its little locking tab. We can then get this plug, we can plug that in, and then push this orange tab in, and that's reconnected the airbag pre-tensioner. So now what we need to do is to feed this in behind here, and we'll sit that into there. And you will notice that this bracket here is very slightly different on this particular seat belt to the one that we took out. That'll just be a different manufacturer has used a different bracket, but it's perfectly okay. It is the right one for the car. So we can now go ahead and put this bolt back in here, this T50. That will tighten that up and hold it in position. So I'll go ahead and get that tightened up. We wanted to just show you what we think caused this belt to fray. So you'll notice on this particular belt, as it goes in and out, it's been able to rub against this metal housing here. You'll notice on the replacement belt, it's actually got a plastic sleeve here, like a guide for the belt coming in and out of. So this one won't actually rub against anything metal. So I'm fairly confident in saying that the reason this is frayed, why it's damaged, is because the plastic part, the guide, is missing off this belt. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we apply a little bit of thread lock on here, and we're just going to bring this up. And we're just going to start that with a couple of threads. I will say the one I put on at the bottom, down here, I've only just put this in just over finger tight. This isn't fully tightened up. I'm going to make sure I've got all of them in before we actually get them tightened up to make sure that the belt does move up and down correctly. So this one's in, we've got the bottom one in. We've fed the seat belt through the guide. We're now going to take the bottom part here, place it in, the top part in there, raise it up, move it across, and that's your seatbelt guide fitted. Okay, so we've now got the 3 anchorage points in, here, here and here, and the guide. And I've not fed it through here, so I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll undo that and feed the belt through, shall I? Well done, mate. Yeah. Easy mistake to make, especially when you're recording. So that's going to go through there, feeding the belt through, because of course you don't want to make the same silly mistake I did. Thread lock's on there still, it's not gone off, so we'll wind that back in. I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyway, as I was saying, once you've fed all this through, come on back through there, you little devil, we can now go ahead and fit that back on with our T20. We're just going to wind in your T20, and of course that was ever so easy to do. Make sure that you get this mechanism connected at the back properly, otherwise when you do this it will not lift your belt up and down. Okay, so that nice and low. Always start with this set at the bottom, so when you're taking this apart, set this to the bottom. It makes putting it back on a lot easier. All right, with that done and everything back together, we can start putting all the internal trim back together. This trim actually goes behind there and should clip into the bottom part of this trim, so we need to pull that out. We need that to go through there. So what we've done is we've fed this panel up and just pushed it through the plastic here, okay, on both sides. Back to the camera lady. Now, assuming everything's as it should be, we can try and feed this panel back to where it wants to go. Need to make sure it goes under the trims at the front here in the correct place as well. Firm push everywhere. Press that panel back on. Push these panels down here. Lock over the top, and there's one in the front. Here. And now all we need to do is replace your door seal. Okay, last thing to do is to reconnect the battery. In this case, we're going to do the positive terminal. It's a 10mm. Put your battery cover back on. Close your hood or your bonnet. British. There we go. Close the bonnet. Job done. Okay, and the final thing we need to do, now we've reconnected the battery, keyless start, press the ignition, start the car. We've disconnected the battery, so we just need to make sure that in doing so, the radio is still working. We don't need to put any radio codes in. In this particular car, it will have held its memory. And of course, make sure that we've got no other dashboard lights on, any warning lights that may be there, just because we've disconnected the battery. Yes, you can. Okay, so a little bit of Iron Maiden, love a bit of that. We've checked the car, everything's fine, and that's it. That's all there is to it. So if you did like the video, remember to go down and hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and smash the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of our future videos. For watching, and I'll see you in the next. Ta-ra for now.
Oh.